Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man, at your services. Yes, I'm sporting the Hunting McLeod tartan, and there's RJ McCready from The Thing. I know I'm human. Which kind of gives us a bit of a segue into The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Werewolfery, again, yes, it's one of my favourite topics, we all know this. I did a video a short while ago lambasting the fact that 2020, because of some extraneous variables which crept in of the viral variety, we've got no new films coming out. All the films we were looking forward to have all been waylaid and postponed and delayed, and well, we ain't going to see them this year in 2020, put it that way. But one film that did come out, and it went in America, I do believe it had a very brief theatrical run, which may still be ongoing, I don't know, but it came out video on demand primarily, and it's in the genre you know I love, werewolves. And this was Jim Cummings' movie, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. And I'd seen the trailer for it, and I thought, this looks quirky and offbeat and weird. Jim Cummings of Thunder Road fame has written, directed, and he stars in this mysterious tale of brutal murders, women being torn apart in a very rural, snowbound, isolated town up in the mountains of Utah. And every full moon this seems to be happening. Now, he plays John, Sheriff John. Well, I think his dad, played by the late great Robert Forster, sadly this was his last movie. He's the sheriff, but he's not well. He's hiding it, but John knows, and he's trying to, look after his dad, but also try and take charge of a very disinterested and lackluster police department who have never really had any crime to, sort of investigate, and now they're confronted by people being torn limb from limb. But John is also a recovering alcoholic. I say recovering. He's not very good at recovering. He's still drinking, because events are going to spiral out of control and he's going to go back to the dreaded bottle. But his dad is in trouble. His marriage is split up. He has a teenage daughter who's about to go off to college. He's not getting on too well with her. He's sparky, irritable. He cannot believe his staff are so ridiculously inept. But he also can't focus on the job at hand because he's got so many other problems that he's got to try and juggle. So he's losing his mind. And of course, that's not the best, way to deal with a series of brutal murders in your town. Local hostilities are overflowing, distrust of the police's ineptitude with the media, certain lines coming out, like when one person was killed, i.e. the first victim, someone inadvertently comes out the word massacre, so it's all over the press, there's been a massacre. The term wolfman and werewolf are bandied about. People are putting up banners. Who's going to catch the wolfman? The wolf, the werewolf of Snow Hollow and all this. And poor old John's going look, I don't want to hear about werewolves again. He's virtually becoming a werewolf in the way he gets so angry and ferocious with his own staff. He sacks people left, right and centre. He even attacks people because he just can't deal with his own inner turmoil. And it's all bubbling over. Now, I'm not going to spoil this movie. I am not. This is a film which takes the idea of murders in a rural setting, a werewolf on the loose, people being torn apart, and it uses that just as a kind of side story to what this film is really about, which a thing for Jim Cummings is that he deals with mental illness and people's despair, their self-loathing, how it manifests itself by attacking other people and blaming everybody but yourself for your own problems and your own fallibilities. And so if you come into this film expecting a proper creature feature, I do fear you're going to be gravely disappointed. From the trailer and from what I knew already of Jim Cummings, I knew it was going to be a quirky, offbeat sort of fable, centering more on characters and bizarre interactions with a very dark, humorous sort of quality to it. And it really wouldn't revolve around the murders and the potential of a supernatural monster on the loose. That is there, but it's not the central, path that we're going down with this movie. It aims for something akin to the Coen brothers, offbeat, quirky, Fargo with its setting and its police department and the weird idiosyncratic locals and inhabitants. A bit of Twin Peaks thrown in there as well. And it shoots for these heights and it kind of misses most of them. This is a film I actually enjoyed from start to finish, but I had sort of different expectations from it. I knew what it wasn't going to be, and I enjoyed what it became. I know many people are going to have a lot of problems with it. In fact, I've already read many reviews where people despise it. I sat and watched it with Mrs. Kilt-Man, and I had briefed her on it beforehand. Mrs. Kilt-Man doesn't like horror movies or fantasy movies or action movies. She might put up with them just to keep me happy, but it's not her cup of tea. And literally about 20 minutes into it, she went, and I had briefed her on it, she went, "Is this a comedy?" And I went, well, yes, it is. It's a blackly comic tale of bleak despair and, mental collapse and disintegration. And she went, well, it's not very funny. No, indeed, she didn't laugh at all. She put up with it. But I did laugh out loud on several occasions. But I've got to try to tread a careful line here, because it's not the sort of film that I can sit here and go, you've got to watch this, it's great, and then reel off all its attributes to you, its merits, because it is idiosyncratic, it is nuanced, it's eccentric, but it also is striving to be like that. It feels very forced in many ways. So Jim Cummings, if I wore a cap, I would doff it to you, sir, for taking on so many hats. You were a director, you're a writer, you starred in it, you're in almost every scene of the movie except for the killings. We'll come on to that. And really, you're maybe taking on too much, because a lot of people have directed their vitriol to this movie for your acting abilities by saying if you just kept to the writing and directing, which is fine, but the acting is pretty bad. A lot of people lambasted his performance. I actually enjoyed it, but I do get their point as well. It's very forced, it's very OTT, and it does change the tone of what is already a very uneven and quirky movie. Rightly or wrongly, its sense of humour and his characterisation may appeal to some people, and I was along for the ride, and I did for the most part enjoy it, but I did realise that you are the failing. This film has many great moments and great successes, but it has many failings too, and sadly Jim Cummings is at the root of all the success and all the failings as well, because you've done too much. So the finger will inevitably point at you for those that don't like it and fall by the wayside. The snowy wayside. The setting is gorgeous, the cinematography is fantastic. What I will say is that the great aerial views that open the movie, and you do see with some of the travelogues of the police cruisers going up these snowy highways to where the next murder scene is, are beautiful to look at. And there's a great sort of vertigo-inducing opening shot, which is actually upside down and becomes a montage of the landscape. Very cleverly done. But the film does not exploit the setting as well as you think it would. You've got these snowy wastes, it's a high up mountain town. Snowy mountains and ridges and valleys, but there's no hunting taking place out there. It's all centralised in diners, bars, houses, and the cop shop, and the hospital, and the morgue, and the library. Do you get my point? It's mainly interior. The exteriors are used at the finding of the bodies and obviously the murders themselves. And that could be a problem as well, because when it comes to the murders, you see the aftermath, albeit fleetingly, but you do see the attacks as well. Excuse me. Salute. But Cummings does it in a strange sort of way. You will have the build up to the attack, a vulnerable woman out in the snow. There's always women who are getting attacked out in the snow, And then the thing is, you will see the monster. You will see it. You see it early on. And you're like, Christ, they've given the game away there, haven't they? Or have they? I'm going to be clever. I'm going to be careful and cautious here and not let this usual runaway gob deliver all, the details. Well, I'm going to try not to anyway. And then when the actual attack takes place, he does this thing of going forward in time to the police finding the body and then discussing what's happened and crime scene pictures, the morgue, and then to go back to the attack sequence as well. So those moments, instead of being utterly ferocious and terrifying, he's broken the tension and suspense and the my God, what's happening, with the quirky crime scene moments, dealing with the press, dealing with each other, the police departments who cannot get along with each other at all. And it's a complete lack of respect for the authority that John tries to have, but because he's such a badly anger managed personality, he derails himself at every opportunity and makes a complete fool of himself at all times. So this cross-cutting could perhaps, literally snuff out all the excitement of what are initially quite suspenseful attack sequences. However, having said that, they are quite suspenseful, and there is one or two great scenes where I can talk about one. I won't say who the characters are, but there's a couple making out in a car outside, and the lad suddenly sees, oh, hang on, that's my neighbour. And the neighbour, a woman, is in the window looking out at them, and she's on the phone as well. And he's like, you better get off me. This lovely young lady is sitting astride him, and she's not like, she's actually calling for help, and she's pointing, look that way. And they turn around and they see this wolf, big werewolf thing running at them, which then attacks the car. And it's a great, we go, oh my God, it is good. And the very fact that you see the killer in the first scene, the first attack scene, no, you don't. In the second attack scene, the second, you see it on the street, the size of it, and you see it literally coming towards the victim, and you're like, God, they've just literally just shown you it. Is it effective? Initially, yeah, but you also think, well, hang on a minute, I've seen far better costumes than that. You know me, I collect werewolf masks and costumes and stuff, and I have far better costumes than what was on display here. I'll say no more. There is a very creepy sequence set in a diner with a young woman and her small child, and you don't see who it is who walks in behind them, but somebody very creepy walks in behind them, sits down off camera, you might just see a knee or maybe an arm, and begins to strike up a conversation with her. It is the way it turns, you already know that this is going to be, this is a bit awkward. He's asking questions and she's fending him off quite nice. Oh, very polite at first. Yeah. Oh yeah, I went to school there. Yeah. Oh yeah. Conversation is struck up, and then he starts to ask more probing questions, and also gives the fact that he knows a fair bit more about it, and she is absolutely unhinged by it. And that scene works really well. So you've got little moments like that which genuinely remind you you're watching what's supposed to be a horror film. But then the majority of the film will then go off in these other different directions, these tangents of alcoholism, of separation, of anxiety, depression, and just mental disintegration. I'm playing right now Ben Lovett's score for the movie, and it's pretty good. It's pretty low key. It's got an underscore of menace and suspense. And, the film does maintain that in large swathes, but in far larger swathes you have this black comedy aspect. And that's where people are going to come adrift. They're going to forget they're watching what's supposed to be, from the outset, a werewolf horror movie, a mystery yarn. Folks, I liked it. I can't say I loved it. and I think very few people will love it. I haven't seen Thunder Road, his previous movie, which apparently deals with the same sort of things about manic depression and familial angst and separation and alienation. But this one just adds, murders and a werewolf. But I did like it. Robert Forster gives a good performance, and it's very sad as well because of what his character's going through. He's an old man. He's refusing to give in now. He is the sheriff, but he really can't deal with this. And he will sit down and tell his son. And his son's going mad at him out, just trying to keep... He is holding him up on some occasions because he is going to collapse. And in retaliation and try to, as a decoy, John will like roar at all the rest of the cops and send them out, and then he'll sit his dad down. Dad, you can't keep on doing this. Dad, you've got to retire. You've got to give up. And Robert Forster will give like a great understated performance of like, this didn't happen in my day. In my day, look, there's old photos there of their cops. They're going out there and they're catching the bad guys. And look at the pride on their faces. Basically saying that we're powerless to protect our own community because this thing, whatever it is, it's quicker, it's more deadly, it's more cunning than what we've ever faced. And his own cops are saying, like, let the feds deal with it. This isn't nothing to do with us. Your residents are being killed on your own doorstep, and they say that's nothing to do with us. Like, but they are a funny, mismatched bunch of detectives and cops who really are imbecilic. And the crime scene moments where they stumble upon the bodies and they're trying to do the right thing, but they're getting harassed by the press and they're saying the wrong things. And John's just got right in front of everybody. He's losing the plot. He's punching his own staff. But so many of these OTT comedic moments don't work. They miss the target. Some do, some work, and I did laugh. There is a moment with he has a terrible time with the coroner, the guy who's doing the autopsies on these bodies. He has a terrible time with him, and at one stage he's going for this guy, and his own team have to drag him out the door. He's on all fours. He literally, maybe Jim Cummings was trying to say this, that we all become a beast in these, when things become unhinged around us and we lose control, we lose focus, we lose our ability to remain calm in hostile situations. We become a monster ourselves. Now, that is not what, I don't know if he's trying to say that or I'm just reading too much into it and I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. But there is two moments certainly where John loses the plot good stuff and he's actually going for someone who's totally innocent and being dragged away and he's like, ah. And I did laugh out loud at those particular sequences. So, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Modern werewolf fable? No. No, it's not. It's a roller coaster ride through mental collapse. And I like the way that things do sort of turn full circle and we do get a conclusion and a resolution to this story on an emotional level, on a psychological level, and the story itself. The story, all this is sort of like pinned on, this werewolf murders. Let's not forget about these murders. They are happening. People do die. It's not like a figment of anyone's imagination. It genuinely is. People are being killed in this horrible murder spree every full moon. And you will get... I was reminded of Silence of the Lambs, the conclusion of that, and sort of like the red herrings, and who's in the right place at the right time. I was reminded of that, and I think there's a beautiful payoff as well. Although you will be... inevitably, a lot of people will be disappointed by the eventual reveal, but there's a great moment in it as well. And I'll just say one thing, that height is involved in it, and it's a great sort of moment. So, unusually for me, I think I've done pretty well there in not giving away too many spoilers. in my opinion. I like the music to it. It's, again, like the horror aspect, it's understated, but it's creepy. The murders and the effects, the bloody bodies are great. The monster itself, initially you're like, and then you go, hang on a minute. But just, and then you go into all this offbeat weirdness, this very, very sort of lame Twin Peaks attitude of off-kilter personalities and weirdness, and this sort of Coen Brothers-esque sort of character farce and dissection. So there's a lot of things at play here, and a lot of it doesn't really fit together. The jigsaw does not work. You will not get a complete picture out of it. But I like the fact that he's tried to do this. I've read a lot of, spite levelled at him because of his approach to this movie. But I think, because if you haven't seen it and I've now told you all this, you're going to go in with a whole different sort of perspective on it. You will not be expecting an American werewolf in snowy mountains. You will not be expecting the howling or anything like that. I've given you a bit of a flavour of where its heart really lies. If the path of the werewolf stuff is dead centre there, most of the film is off there. No, that's the left. To me, that's the left. That's the left field, and it mostly occupies that territory. And Jim Cummings' performance, yeah, maybe he's just doing too much. He's certainly trying not to be likeable, and in that respect, he succeeds. His character of John is a real fucking annoyance and a pain in the ass. Moments of hysterics, and I will give him this. There is one moment where he brought a lump to my throat as well, and I'll be painfully honest about that. And it worked. I'm sure there are people who go through emotional traumas who act very similar to this, who just lose the grasp on reality and completely just go for broke, become self-destructive, but blame everybody else around them, and they can't hide whatever position in life they hold, a sheriff, a doctor, or whatever, a judge, and you're watching someone completely collapse on camera or in front of people that they shouldn't be losing control in front of. Well, you're going to see in this movie a lot. But there is some touching moments as well, and the comedy elements. So, folks, there was my quite skillfully evasive review. Not my usual warts and all sort of style for The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Give it a shot, see what you think. That's all I can say, really. I stuck with it, and I did by and large enjoy it. But I can totally understand, and I wouldn't reproach anyone for hating it. I wouldn't, because at the end of the day, you make up your own mind. It's up to you. At least something different was tried with a very old, hairy old tale, a shaggy dog story of werewolfery. Something different is tried. Whether it's successful or not, you'll have to be the judge. But folks, anyway, I have been, and always shall be, Kilt-Man. Much, much more to come your way. At the time of this recording, we're heading into the latter half of October. The Halloween season really is kicking in now, so you can expect a hell of a lot more horrifying stuff from this guy. So, please, folks, be happy, be healthy, be yourselves, be careful out there, especially when there's a full moon. And I'm going to see you all. Raiders! And I don't want to hear any more talk about werewolves. I don't believe in werewolves. Actually, I do. Oh, I missed the stop button.